Have you ever wondered about the biggest tsunami waves in history? Tsunamis are awe-inspiring yet terrifying natural phenomenon capable of unleashing immense destruction and altering the course of lives in history. In this video, we'll delve into the 5 largest tsunami waves ever recorded, shedding light on their staggering heights, causes, and the profound impact they had on the affected regions. Let's begin. Number 1. Lituya Bay, Alaska, 1958. Imagine a wave taller than the Empire State Building, taller than any skyscraper you've ever seen. Now imagine it isn't a work of fiction, but a real phenomenon that struck a remote center of Alaska in 1958. This is the story of the Lituya Bay tsunami, a colossal wave that remains the highest recorded tsunami in history. On a seemingly ordinary July night, the earth trembled violently in southeast Alaska. A powerful earthquake, measuring between 7.8 and 8.3 on a Richter scale, ripped through the region. This wasn't just any earthquake, it triggered a chain reaction of terrifying events. High above the serene waters of Lituya Bay, a massive chunk of mountainside, roughly the size of 30 million dump trucks, suddenly lost its grip. The earthquake had shaken it loose, sending it plummeting 3,000 feet into the narrow inlet below. This wasn't just a rock slide. It was an avalanche, a colossal transfer of mass that displaced a staggering amount of water. The impact of the landslide was like throwing a pebble into a pond, but instead of ripples, it created a monstrous wave. The displaced water surged upwards, forming a wall of destruction that towered an unimaginable 524 meters tall. That's 1,700 feet. This wave, taller than any building ever built, dwarfed even the most ferocious ocean waves. The wave, a liquid giant fueled by the fury of the earthquake and the landslide, roared across the bay. It ripped through forest, carving away entire slopes and leaving behind a trail of devastation. Trees were stripped bare, land masses were reshaped, and even the seabed was scoured clean. Despite its immense power, the tsunami's impact on human life was surprisingly minimal. The remoteness of Lituya Bay and the timing of the events at nighttime meant that few people were in the path of the wave. Only 5 lives were tragically lost. The Lituya Bay tsunami stands as a stark reminder of the immense power of nature. It serves as a valuable lesson in understanding the forces that shape our planet and the importance of preparedness for such rare but devastating events. Next on our list, number 2, the 1771 Yaeyama Islands, Japan. On April 24th, 1771, the Yaeyama Islands, nestled south of Japan's Okinawa Island, faced an unimaginable catastrophe. A powerful earthquake ripped through the region, triggering a monstrous tsunami that forever changed their lives. While estimates vary, this forgotten tragedy claimed between hundreds of thousands of lives. This forgotten tragedy claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, leaving behind a trail of devastation. The exact cause of the tsunami remains debated. Go back, with some suggesting that a submarine landslide amplified by the earthquake, while others attribute it to solely the seismic event. Regardless of the origin, the consequences were undeniable. The Yaeyama Islands, known for their coral reefs and vibrant culture, were struck by waves reaching a staggering 132 meters in height. That's 433 feet. Imagine towering walls of water, taller than buildings, surging inland with unimaginable force. Villages were obliterated, homes ripped apart, and lives swept away in an instant. The historical records paint a grim picture of the aftermath. Entire communities decimated, agricultural land destroyed by saltwater intrusion, and a population reduced to a third of its original size. Yaeyama tsunami serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature. Despite lacking the global attention accorded to more recent disasters, its impact on the Yaeyama Islands was profound and long-lasting. The event reshaped their cultural memory, influencing architecture, folklore, and disaster preparedness practices. Today, remnants of the tsunami stand as a silent witness. Coral boulders, known as tsunami stones, deposited far inland, serve as a chilling reminder of the wave's immense power. Communities hold memorial services to honor the victims and keep the memory of the disaster alive. ensuring future generations are prepared for potential threats. Number 3. 1883 Krakatoa Eruption, Indonesia. The 1883 Krakatoa eruption in Indonesia caused one of the most devastating tsunamis in history. As the volcano eruption occurred, it triggered a series of powerful waves that surged across the Sunda Strait, wreaking havoc on coastal communities in Indonesia and neighboring countries. The impact of the tsunami was catastrophic, to say the least. Entire villages were swept away by the force of the water, leaving behind a trail of destruction and devastation. Thousands of people lost their lives in the disaster, with estimates of the death toll ranging in the tens of thousands. The waves generated by the Krakatoa eruption were immense, reaching estimated heights of 50 to 80 meters, 164 to 260 plus feet. These towering walls of water crashed onto the shores with incredible force, demolishing everything in their path. Homes, buildings, and infrastructure were obliterated, leaving communities in ruins. In addition to the loss of life and property, the tsunami caused widespread displacement and suffering. Survivors were left homeless, with no shelter or basic necessities. Many were injured, and medical facilities were overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the disaster. The aftermath of the tsunami was characterized by chaos and despair as communities struggled to cope with the scale of the destruction. The impact of the tsunami extended beyond Indonesia, affecting neighboring countries such as Java and Sumatra. Coastal areas along the Indian Ocean felt the ripple effects of the disaster, with waves traveling across vast distances. The devastation caused by the Krakatoa tsunami reverberated throughout the region, leaving a lasting imprint on the landscape and the lives of those affected. In the aftermath of the disaster, relief efforts were launched to assist survivors and rebuild affected communities. Aid organizations and government agencies worked tirelessly to provide emergency assistance, including food, water, and medical care. Reconstruction efforts focused on restoring essential infrastructure and helping communities recover from the trauma of the disaster. Number 4. 1960 Valdivia, Chile. Moving over to Chile, the 1960 Valdivia, Chile tsunami was one of the deadliest tsunamis in history. It occurred May 22, 1960, following a massive 9.5 magnitude megathrust earthquake that struck off the coast of Chile. This earthquake remains the strongest ever recorded, unleashing catastrophic consequences across the region. The tsunami triggered by the earthquake wreaked havoc along the Chilean coastline and inflicted devastating impacts on the communities in its path. With waves reaching staggering heights of 25 meters, 82 feet in some areas, the tsunami unleashed a relentless assault on coastal towns and cities, leaving destruction and despair in its wake. The impact of the tsunami was felt across multiple dimensions, affecting lives, infrastructure, and the socio-economic fabric of the affected areas. One of the most immediate and tragic consequences of the tsunami was the loss of human life. The death toll exceeded 2,000 people, with countless others suffering injuries and trauma. Families were torn apart and communities were left mourning the loss of loved ones, forever scarred by the tragedy. In addition to the staggering loss of life, the tsunami inflicted widespread damage to infrastructure, including buildings, roads, and utilities. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to rubble, with homes swept away by the powerful waves. Critical lifelines such as water and power supply lines were severed, exacerbating the challenges faced by survivors in the aftermath of the disaster. The economic impact of the tsunami was profound, plunging affected areas into a stage of turmoil and uncertainty. Vital industries such as fishing and tourism, which heavily relied upon the coastal resources and infrastructure, were decimated by the disaster. Fishing boats were destroyed, harbors were rendered unusable, and coastal resorts lay in ruins, crippling local economies and livelihoods. Moreover, the tsunami triggered secondary effects that compounded the misery of those already reeling from the disaster. The destruction of infrastructure disrupted essential services such as healthcare and education, exacerbating the suffering of survivors and hindering recovery efforts. Access to clean water, food, and medical supplies became scarce, further exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Number 5. 2004's Indian Ocean Earthquake and Tsunami. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami ranks among the most catastrophic natural disasters humanity has ever faced. Occurring December 26, 2004, this devastating event was triggered by a colossal megathrust earthquake beneath the Indian Ocean. With a magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3, it remains one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. The tsunami unleashed by the earthquake wreaked havoc across the vast expanse of coastal regions in countries bordering the Indian Ocean. The impact was profound, to say the least, with waves towering as high as 30 meters, 98 feet in some areas, striking with unimaginable force and ferocity. The human toll of the disaster was staggering. Over 230,000 people lost their lives, and 1 million more were left displaced, their lives forever altered by their tragedy. Families were torn apart, communities shattered, and an entire generation lost in the blink of an eye. The sheer scale of human suffering and loss was unprecedented, leaving a profound and indelible mark on the affected countries and the world at large. The devastation inflicted by the tsunami extended far beyond the loss of human life. Entire coastal communities were obliterated, with homes, infrastructure, and livelihoods swept away by the relentless force of the waves. In Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and other affected countries, the tsunami left a trail of destruction in its wake, laying waste to everything in its path. So tell me, which of these catastrophic events do you think was the most impactful and dreadful? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Please do well to click the like and subscribe buttons to show your support.